Good evening and welcome to tonight's episode of On the Line. And I'm delighted to welcome Oksana Melnyk, I hope I said that well, who's going to be
Yes.
talking about her new book, which is a fascinating read, and it's first-hand accounts from the Ukrainian Frontline. Oksana, thank you for joining us from Kyiv, I believe.
Yes. Thank you for invitation. Yes, in Kyiv.
Pleasure.
Hello from Kyiv to all the audience.
So we have a few questions tonight, which I will ask, but also if any of our audience members wish to ask Oksana a question, please put it in the Q&A at the bottom of your screen, and we will endeavour to answer, or Oksana will endeavour to answer as many questions as possible. And so let's kick off with, tell me a little bit about yourself, Oksana, and your background.
Hi, everybody. My name is Oksana. I'm writer and communication specialist. I help people to explore their power. I started as journalist 12 years ago. It was in these ancient times when everybody in the world only associated my country with Chernobyl and brothers Klitschko. And these days I used to work for online media. It was my first job. And in this time, I had started my column called The Diary of Soldier. And I talked to first volunteers who were actually the first to go to this war in 2014. And at this time, I also was a student. I used a very old school push button phone and battery powered voice recorder and wrote the stories of people in the first person based on their talks and their point of view and vision of the world at that time. And then I left journalism and continued to live my common life. And I thought that these practices ended for me. And as a lot of people, I just forgot. I had a period of my life when I forgot that we have the war in the East. And that's why I never judge people because of this. And I never judge fellow Europeans about that because really, mostly people care much more about their own teeth ache, not about other people's death. And then the war came to the big land. I was not prepared for that, like a lot of people. And nowadays, I have a practice as in governmental communications also, and I work with. My book is actually my hobby. So I have my daytime job, and it is my nighttime hobby. So that is the way I share with people my thoughts, not my. I mean, mostly I choose people who have the same values with me, and that's how I learn, how I work on myself, and the way to make this world better.
Thank you. So why did you write the book?
Um I think I just cannot not to write, as most writers. And book is just a data carrier that allows one to talk with their reader about more meaningful things, not something that is pictured in our news feeds, in our social media, in such online things. And if you want to have meaningful communication with your audience, you should slow down your reader. And the book is actual way to do that. And I'm not sure that internet materials will be saved in 100 years, but I'm sure that the values which are pictured in the words of my heroes, they will be saved on paper, in world's vibes, in everything. So that's probably also the way to make something infinite, to make something more, to let the people who will live in 100 years to understand this world better through literature, so through everything. So, and of course, today we have the battlefield not only in Ukrainian forests, not only in our cities, but also in informational space. And I think if to propose people only informational fast food, they will get mindset obedient. That's why I propose people the fancy restaurant in the world of real literature. And in the world of, especially in the world of information about the war in Ukraine.
I think you're right to say slowing down and reading and thinking about what it is you're reading. We're so used to just reading what we would call skim reading, very, very quickly, but not necessarily taking it in.
Yeah, always. We always forget something that we watched in news feeds, in Instagram, in Facebook, in everything. That's why I call that informational fast food. We can relax with that. It can be sometimes useful, but only here and now. It's not useful for life, let's say, as it is.
Why did you choose to write it in English?
I didn't choose it. It has chosen me. I was hesitating about that a lot, but actually, it's a nice story of my life. I started to write in Ukrainian without any ideas how to publish that, how it works, how the books market work, how everything works, and I started to write in Ukrainian. I wrote probably 8 stories, and then I left for a business trip to Egypt, and met there my friend Kostya Trachenko. He is professor of physics. He lives in London, and he left Ukraine 20 years ago. So he's very, very curious about what is going on here, and he is so how to say, he loves his fellow citizens, fellow Ukrainians. That's why he was pretty interested, and I decided to show him my first works, and he said, "You should not publish that in Ukraine. You don't need that." And I think he was right, because Ukrainians are not ready to perceive information about their country, about the time they live in. And he said, like, you should try to publish that in English. I was so how to say, I was hesitating about that because I didn't know English. I didn't write in English. And the whole project, I'm telling you, if I knew how it turns, how it reveals in the end. So probably at that time I would be not ready to start it. But it was journey. It was not a plan. It was journey. That's why I love it even more than, I mean, that's why I love the process even more than the result. So yeah, I think it could be nice story to say that I wanted to share with people in all over the world about the truth about Ukraine, to convince some I don't know, some English-speaking audience in something, and to tell about my country. That sounds nice, but that's not true. I didn't mean it. And I don't think that I need to convince somebody in something. So it's not, how to say, I don't think it's real to change somebody with convincing. I just can share, and people can do with it anything what they want. So that's it.
So what did you enjoy most about the process?
Talking to people, to being here and now in the moment with them, with their stories, to try to understand them, which is impossible, of course, because you cannot understand anybody if you cannot understand other person 100%. But I think in this world, it's a big privilege to choose somebody whom you want to listen to. And I decided by myself that I have this privilege. I can choose my heroes. I can choose this, let's say, musician with a weapon. I can choose this drone operator. I can choose this combat medic, and I can listen to their stories, and of course I like the result, because I like the result. I like what it reveals in the process, because also I never know. I never know the structure of any chapter. So the end, what I get in the end, it's always surprise for me as for writer.
Thank you. So there's quite a lot of stories in the book, and I think I said to you when we first met that some of these stories are quite difficult. But I think you said you had a slightly different take on that, didn't you? You thought differently about that.
Differently, I'm not sure that I got your question about
So
what is.
so I said to you that some of the stories were very difficult to read, and quite people's experiences were
Yes,
obviously
yes,
uh,
yes.
not that good. But you kind of put a more, I think you used the word life affirming, didn't you, when we were talking about it and how you.
Yes, life affirming. Uh, Nowadays, I cannot say that I find these stories that difficult, because I continue to work with people, and somehow I choose even more difficult people, even more magnetic contexts, and I think I just got used to that. So probably something that is very complicated and harsh for reader, for me as an author, is the step behind, and that's how the whole process is moving on. And yes, I still find them life affirming. because the one can strive and to become bigger only with how to say with some challenges. Maybe the word challenge is too simple for what we experience right now, but still, in terms of life of the person, it's a challenge. Yes.
Yeah. So, how did you choose the stories? What made you think that I must put that story in my book?
Very simple. All those people are from my close or distant communication circle. For example, here you can meet people from and the chapters of people from 2015s. You can meet there my choreographer's mom. You can meet there some guy from Facebook of my news feeds. Also some celebrities, which I decided to text and, for example, yeah, there is a pretty famous Ukrainian rock star there. Or people who were just recommended by friends of mine, by my colleagues, like everybody. So I think every human, every person has its own unique story, and it always depends on how you talk about that. Actually, there is an interesting book of an interesting book. Let me. I forgot. The psychologist who said that the experience matters much less than how you describe your story. And story is the most meaningful aspect of how we perceive our life. So every experience can be valuable. Every person is valuable. Everybody.
Definitely.
Even if we don't like them. especially people whom we don't like, they are very useful for our life. We learn through these people. We look at ourselves with these people's help.
Yeah. So, which of the stories was most surprising to you and why?
That was not the story. That was the experience entailed by the story called One Way Ticket. I even don't remember the face of narrator. Maybe his name was Dmitro or Andrei, I don't know. But he decided to not reveal his personality. I worked with this story in 2023 in January. And 1 year and a half, I got a call from my father, and he told the story about our distant relative. Probably this guy somehow is my very distant brother or something like that. Not cousin, but yeah, we have common roots. And he told that this guy was killed by Russians near Soledar in Donetsk Oblast. This guy was very decent officer, and actually, the houses of our grandparents are in the same neighborhood, and sometimes my grandfather still cares about, still works in their yard because this house is abandoned right now. And father told that this boy used to play football with my brother And when he mentioned his name and surname and call sign, I realized that I know this person somehow. I know about, like, that is a person from my life story. I know him, even if the father says that we never met. And then I suddenly realized that this is the name and call sign from my manuscript, and I found it. And that's how I found my distant relative in the manuscript. He was mentioned, and I didn't know that this guy is so close to me, and we have probably same blood or something like that. And also, it revealed that this guy, this my relative, was also the close friend of the narrator of chapter Jelly Air. And all these people somehow are connected. I didn't want to make it like that, but that is how that how it works. That's how it works in my life and in the process of writing this book and its continuation. And mostly I say that about such situation, that if you think that the war is far away, that's not true. I also thought that I didn't lose somebody from my family, but it revealed that I was not right.
How did you feel about that?
Hmm, I don't know. I I would like to say that I'm proud, that I feel sad, and I'm upset about such news about my relatives. About I'm upset with the war, but no, I know in in my personal beliefs. I think that we always have the point of entrance and we have the point of exit. So that is the choice of personality which I should respect. I should respect his decision to go to the war, and he has chosen the way to live. And if even if his life could be long and great without that, that's not how life works, actually. People are born, people can die, we can die. Actually, right now, because now in Kyiv we have air raid. So I don't know. Probably in 10 years ago, I will find out how I personally feel about that. Mostly I ask people about that, so I'm lost in my feelings about everything.
So I would just say, if there is an air raid and you need to go, please do.
I don't think I should interrupt my life because crazy neighbors.
Okay. But anyway, if you change your mind,
I will
please.
not.
No, I didn't think you
With
would.
the whole respect to our audience and to the respect to us, I think everything will be good.
Okay. Right, back to the other questions. Which story is the most important as far for you, and why?
I think everybody can find something important in some chapters they decide to discover. And for me personally, it was not the most important part for me personally was not inside the book. It was outside the book. Especially, I can emphasize the chapter 16 and the story of Capellan with call sign Padre. And we had a talk with Padre. It was autumn of 2022, and suddenly he said the phrase like, Oksana, everything is for us. The whole world is constructed for us. The trees with yellow leaves, the road was built by other people also for us. The flowers, like all the buildings here are also personally for us. And I felt this thought with all my cells, with all my body, and I decided like, oh, wow, I'm here also for other people. And firstly, I thought that what connects all the heroes of my book is that all of them decided to take a weapon in the right moment and go to fight. But now I realize that there is something deeper that connects all these people. It is that in one moment or somewhere on the life crossroads, they decided that they are here for other people too. They decided to serve, not like serve in the army, but just serve for other people. And this talk with Padre was probably the most important for me. And I still live like that. And maybe for some readers, maybe readers can find something for according to their values and their life story, which can be also helpful for them. But for me, actually, this journey is probably one of the most important things in my life that I should have done.
What do you hope then will be achieved by writing the book? You've sort of answered that already. Is there anything you'd add to that?
Achieved by writing. As I said, I don't believe that I can change somebody's mind with that. Like Russian Putinists or people who hesitate in the USA, in Europe, or somewhere. I think that's possible to change any person only with acceptance. And you can perform the task only accepting the conditions of this task. And I'm sure that I did that for people who read that. That was the main achievement, to let people to find it and read it and probably think about that more than about news feeds, because in all these stories are such things that you never find anywhere in news feeds or online. So I would like to change the world, but I realize that's not real. And I decided to accept the task conditions. We have this type of world. We should live in that to learn and get better with in this time and space,
Mm.
let's say.
Okay, thank you. As you know, we have a new the world has a new US president.
Oh yeah.
Things, yeah, and things have changed dramatically. I think. I mean, they seem to be changing on a daily basis at the moment in
Yeah.
our news feeds. Anyway, the way are with you.
Agenda was changed. That's true. Everywhere.
So I was going to, obviously, President Zelensky went to the White House to meet Trump, and there was obviously that, what you call it, really, a press conference, if it will call it that.
Yeah.
I think people will have their opinions on, what happened, but I wanted to know, what did you think about that and the way Zelensky was treated?
Uh, I would like to answer with the phrase of Marcus Aurelius, like, this too shall pass. But I'm not a philosopher yet, so I'm just a writer. I can tell our audience about the old Ukrainian fairy tale called Ivasik Telesik. Ivasik Telesik is actually Ukrainian character, which was made of wood, like Pinocchio in Western world, or Russians have their Buratino. And the story of this hero, in many ways, reminiscent of the struggle of the Ukrainian people. He was raised by his by grandmother and grandfather, and sometimes he went fishing. And one day he was noticed by old snake, very old and big snake. And this snake actually tricked him with the language question. The snake faked his grandmother voice, the grandmother's speech, and just caught him. And it was very important for for her to catch him, even if Ivasik Telesik had golden ship. Probably old snake wanted his soul, not his resources, not his land, not everything, but his soul. And the old snake brought our hero to the young snake, Olenka. And she instructed her to bake Ivasik, our wood hero. Somehow, Ivasik said, like, yeah, he also tricked the enemy and put the young in the oven instead. The whole story, the whole scene in about this in the fairy tale was like Ivasik said, "I don't know how to do that. Show me that." And the story develops in such a way that the old snake spots Ivasik on the tree, and old snake started to gnaw the tree, and the hero was in danger again. And a herd of geese was flying in the sky. Ivasik said he asked them to save him, and the strong, big geese refused to do that. It looked like, we are very concerned about what's going on, about the situation, but we cannot help you. And suddenly he was taken by a small, clumsy gosling who fought off all of them. And probably some people are waiting for black swan in this war, in new architecture. But as a fairy tale shows, it will be just a clumsy, small gosling. Something very unexpected. And I think these fairy tales are pretty concrete and very firm about about the reality we have. We have the old snake, we have the young snake, and they just want to bake our hero. They failed. They failed. If you read this fairy tale, you also notice that Ivasik Telesik also fails, but still he is on a good side. He struggles, he makes mistakes, but in the end, he is okay. He came back home and continued his life, continued fishing. And yeah, but the problem is that Old Snake was not killed, and probably Ivasik Telesik will have this problem for all his life. So all the answers are in fairy tales. It's like our Ukrainian Pinocchio.
That's a great answer. That's a great.
Thank you.
We've had a question from the audience, actually. Having seen that, I just want to remind the audience that if you want to ask a question of Oksana, please put it in the Q&A. But I'll read this question for you, Oksana. It's from Joseph, and he's asking, what literature or art lifts the spirits of the Ukrainian people during this war?
Literature or art, Ukrainian people.
Yeah. What brings them joy from
Joy?
art and literature? Yeah.
Literature. I can only speak about myself, not about other people, because it's an issue of taste, of preferences. I prefer something very distant from the context of war. And for me, it's authors which are really far from Ukrainian reality. I want just to forget about everything that I work with. I want to get distracted and to be myself, not Ukrainian, not writer, not a woman, not a without any of these points. So to say about readings, I like nowadays to read German Gesse, the German writer. I like to visit concerts. We still have concerts in Ukraine. I like techno parties. Yeah, I think it's art. It's still art. I like everything which reminds me of whom I am, not about the reality I live in.
I like that. Thank you. Okay, so we have
Kahneman. Yeah, that was the name of this professor, Daniel Kahneman, my favorite writer.
Okay, thank you. How would you describe the Ukrainian spirit in the face of Russian aggression?
I don't believe in Ukrainian spirit.
Okay.
I believe that we have the situation which reveals the worst and the best qualities of personality of anyone, and how how you show yourself in such situation is actually who you are. So, and my friend Carl once said that Ukraine is a mix of inferiority complex and megalomania. I think it's pretty true about Ukrainian nationality. But in our country, you can find the worst and the best things ever during this time. Actually, it's pretty much depicted in afterword of my book. And yeah, I don't believe in Ukrainian spirit. I believe in human spirit. And I think if Europe had so much refugees, they would be acting pretty the same as Ukrainian refugees. I don't know. If Europe had the war, you, the Western world would probably experience the same things as we do. You know, that's not about nationality. That's about human being and about our spices. That's it.
Thank you. Douglas says that he enjoyed your folk story, and it says it reminds him of parents that we have here in the UK.
Yeah.
So thanks you for that.
Thank you too.
Any of your authors, he goes on to ask, did any of your authors, so the stories, the people you spoke to, write poetry in response to their experiences or draw?
Yes. There is one poet in my book, Yarina Chernoguz, and her grandfather is also Ukrainian writer. Let me find her. She is also a poet, and I hope you will find her books also in English and her poetry. A mirror. It's 10th chapter. It's pretty harsh because she talks about her experience in Mariupol. And I think it will be interesting for people who are interested in poetry. Yeah, she is a poet. Also, yeah, I should check because sometimes I even forget whom I have because I worked with like 50 plus people and maybe they write poetry and I still don't know about that.
Douglas also asks, do they draw as well? Because people can often find escape or help by drawing as well, can't they? Are you aware? Do any of your people?
In the second edition, I think it will be
Okay,
some
onto that.
one artist. Yes, in second edition.
Okay, well, that was my next question.
Yeah.
Because I know you've obviously told me you're writing another book. How is that going to be different? What's the approach you're taking here?
The whole journey in the second edition is different. That's why the book is different. And of course, I have new narrators, I have new stories, and they even don't repeat the ideas and some thoughts of my previous characters. But I thought it will be complicated because, you know, a lot of people, they think probably the same way about something, but no, they are different in everything. And the next book will be more To me, it will be more deep. It will be less motivating, less not catching, let's say, but it will be more complicated to read. It's more complicated to write for me, and I think reader will be experiencing the same. And these stories are based on life stories of people who are the third year of this war. They are still working on that. They are very exhausted. They are pretty hard to work with. For example, last month I worked with the guy who lost all the emotions. Or, for example, I have a lot of people who lost hands and legs. They somehow try to overcome that and to start a new life, a new reality. So the experiences of people are more complicated to work with. And but they still are disciplined. They know what to do with that. That is probably the biggest shock I got, because even in such harsh time and situation, they know what to do. But even if they don't know what to do, they still act like, this Nike motto, just do it. And that's probably the most inspiring thing about this work. I see how these people prosper, and despite of reality, that is what we are talking about. Experience is less than story, as Daniel Kahneman quoted. Yeah.
Thank you. There's another question here. This one's from Richard. He's asking, is there much resentment towards Western countries, especially towards European?
Resentment of Ukraine?
No. Resentment of countries in Europe, like, the UK or France or Germany or any of the countries. Oksana, let me just finish reading it. Especially towards European countries. It does seem like the Ukrainian people are suffering on behalf of us. There is a noticeable difference in attitude between ex-user countries and the UK.
Nobody in this world can suffer on behalf of you. You can suffer by yourself, I think. And that is the thing I don't like about us Ukrainians, that we try to imply other people the feeling of guilt. I noticed that about Ukrainians, and that's not true. That's not how the world works. If you want to take this guilt, you're free to take it. But nobody can force you to think about that you as English, German, as Italian, is the reason why we suffer. No, that's not true. We suffer because of crazy neighbors, crazy country in the East. So I don't think that resentment is probably it can make other people more emotional, more thinking about the situation, but it's not productive. We cannot build something more on the feeling of guilt and resentment. The real empathy is not about that. It's not about reading other people's bad emotions and taking that on yourself and implying that in your life, with the trial to share these bad things with other people. The real empathy, I think, I'm not sure about how to answer that. I'm sure that empathy is possible only between mutual people. If the society is not mutual, that's not a tool to work with.
Thank you. Richard, I don't know if you've got a follow-up.
Thank you, Richard, for a great question.
Yeah, it is a good question. If you've got a follow-up to that, please drop it in the Q&A, as you just have done. I just wonder, how do I put this? Do lots of people in the Ukraine at your age, or do they feel and think about it in the same way as you?
In my close circle, yes, that's why I choose these people to communicate, because as other people, I trying to find in outer world, what am I right about? And of course, my friends and a lot of people I know, they think the same. But it's not a point about all the society. As I said, in the society of war, you can find everything. And we can make about that some statistics, but can you remember at least one case in our life nowadays when the statistic or some predictions work? I don't know. We have to work with everyday black swans.
Yeah. Well, that's all I have to ask you, Oksana. We don't have any more questions. I think that's been absolutely fascinating.
I think that too.
I think if you can deal with your noisy neighbor, I think the Ukraine is in good hands with people like yourself. And I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. Just seen there's another question. We could squeeze another question in, couldn't we? Having visited Ukraine, is it complicated that many people of Russian ethnicity and many speak Russian, but who would still want to be under or in the Ukraine?
Russian speaking, is it the question about the position of Russian speaking Ukrainians in?
Yes. Yeah, we talked about this before
Yeah.
we started.
Yes.
It's the same question.
Yes. I don't think that they live worse than me. Let's say, if they think about that it is a problem, maybe that is a problem for them. If they visit cafe or the public structures and they want them to be served by Russian speaking people, they fail. It's forbidden. Sorry, because we have our state language. If they talk just a just in their private life, nobody cares. Nobody cares. A lot of, as I told you, the old snake tricked our hero, Ivasik Telesik, with the language issue. That was a starting point. That's why the Russian propaganda works so well on this, because the Russian language is the product of imperialistic politics of Russia in last centuries, let's say. They tried to forbidden Ukrainian. They worked very hard on that, but still we have our state, our language and institutions. And this question about languages still exists. That is the source of Russian propaganda, mostly. And that's why people think that life can be worse in Ukraine because of language you speak. No? No, that's not true. Maybe sometimes if you speak Russian in Ukraine, you can have some fights or, arguments, I mean. But I don't think that is the question the issue you should solve if you want to win, because it's natural product of imperialistic politics. That's all. We should overcome that naturally. And people choose Ukrainian because they see that that's the language of occupier. I don't want to use it anymore. I know Russian, I try not to use it. Because if it's not necessary and I can avoid it in my country under Russian aggression, I will do that. I will do that.
Thank you. And thank you to our audience for joining us. And I would just like to remind everybody this book is available in the UK. It's published by Pen and Sword, which is a well-known publisher in the UK. And I would definitely recommend getting a copy and reading some of these stories.
Thank you, Steve.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And I look forward to the next book, and we'll get you back on and talk about it again.
Yes, of course.
Thank you. So
I'm born ready for that.
Born ready. Right. Yes. Well, that just leaves me to say thank you so much, Oksana, and thank you for ignoring the air raid warning in the background. And I'm glad you're okay.
As usual.
Okay. I guess you do get used to it eventually. But thank you. Thank you very much for your time. And I will hope to speak to you again soon.
Thank you too. Thank you, audience, for attention, for question. Stay safe.